So now we're going to be doing the practical part. So we're going to discover 5 rules which illegal variable names apply to. Some of them are things that you can't do, and some of them are things that you should do. So let's get into it right here. So these are the 5 rules over here. Number 1, no numbers allowed in the beginning. Number 2, no hyphens allowed. Number 3, you should use underscore variable styling for long variables. Number 4, you should use Camelcase variable styling for 2 words. And number 5, no spaces are allowed. So we're gonna explore each one from number 1. So let's just get started. So the first one, no numbers allowed in the beginning. Now what does that mean? You may recall that we made a variable called num1 space equals space, and then we can write the value here. So this will work. Okay, so I have a variable called num1 and it's storing the value string. And what is the string? It says this will work. So if I run this over here, no errors over here. We didn't print anything out, so nothing's coming on the screen, and there are no errors either. So this is valid, this is allowed. What you can also do is this, but it doesn't really make any sense. You can do nu1m. Obviously it doesn't make any sense, but will it run properly? Yes, it does. But what happens if you put the number in the beginning? So instead of num1, I can do 1 num. What happens here? If I try to run it, it's gonna show me a syntax error, and it's pointing towards this. So the error is somewhere over here. The problem is that with variables you can't put the number in the beginning. That is invalid. Then it'll take it as an integer, and because you didn't assign any operators, or it is invalid syntax, then because of that it's throwing an error at you. So what can you do to fix this problem? You can't really do anything to fix this problem over here. The only thing you can do is either do this, which isn't really applicable. You shouldn't really do it, it's confusing, but or you can do this. So you can just put the 1 at the end and it'll run just fine, as you can see. Okay, next one. So this is number 1. Right now the second one we're going to do is no hyphens allowed. So what are hyphens again? If you recall, we explored hyphens in the keywords. So you just press shift and the button that's on the top row of your keyboard, right, 2 keys left to the backspace. So you have the backspace, next to that on the left side you have the plus and equal sign, and next to that you have a long bar and a short bar. So if you just press the button normally it'll show a short bar, but if you press it with shift it'll be a long bar. So underscore and hyphen. For those guys who don't know, this is what underscore and hyphen are. Okay, so the thing is that you're not allowed to use hyphens in variable names. So for example, if I want to do if num1 seems complicated, if instead I want to do something like num1, so kind of like that, and then I can just write this will not work over here, and you can see that I threw the syntax error at you. Cannot assign to operator. What does that mean? Now the reason you can't put underscores is because in the maths expressions video, math operators video, we explored that the minus sign or the hyphen is taken as, you know, a subtraction sign in Python. So if you try to put this, so it'll think that you're trying to minus num minus 1 equals, this will not work, and that's why it says you cannot assign to operators. So that's basically what this is over here. And now how can you prevent this error? You can do 2 things. Either you can just leave it normally like this, or you can use underscores, which are allowed. So if you do this, num underscore 1, it'll run perfectly, no issues over here. So if I run it right now, you can see that there are no issues over here. So I'll just switch this with 2 here. So we have num2 and num1. So this one's with an underscore, so it is working. And this one, and if we remove the underscore we can do this, or but if we try hyphens, then the code will throw an error at us. So no matter what, you cannot use hyphens inside your variable names. So third one we're gonna explore is you should use underscore variable styling for long variables. Now what does that mean? Now this isn't a rule, as in you can't use this, but it's actually something that you should do. So let's say I have a long variable name, pretty long. Let's say I did a project recently, a hovercraft calculator. So let me just create a variable like this, hovercraft calculator. So this is the variable, right? And I can write space equals space, and then I can write the value, for example. Now this should not compile properly, as you can see, because we used hyphens over here, and hyphens are not allowed, so it gave you an error, right? So you cannot assign to operator, as I explained. It's taking this as the minus sign, so it doesn't make sense to Python over here. So instead, what we can do is you should use underscore variables styling for long variables. So instead of using hyphens, we can just replace all of them with underscores. So if you have a variable name this big, then this is how you should write it out. And now if I run this over here, it shouldn't cause any errors, and it doesn't. So I'll just label 3 over here, and as you can see, it doesn't cause any problems because you put the number at the end. Now continuing to the fourth rule, you should use Camelcase variable styling for 2 words. Now we already know what Camelcase is from the slideshow. So Camelcase is kind of written like this. So camel case, this is how you write Camelcase. So you have 2 words. The first word's first letter is small, and the second word's first letter is big, and they're joined together without any underscores or anything in between. And this is called a Camelcase variable. Now it's recommended to do this if you just have a variable that's, let's say, 2 words long. So for example, in C++, there's this function you can use, pin mode. I'm just giving you an example here. So this is written in Camelcase. There are 2 words here, pin and mode, right? And what happens is that we don't really use underscore over here, and instead we just make the second word's first letter capital, and everything else is just, small letters. So this is kind of how we can use Camelcase. You don't use Camelcase in multiple words. So let's say if I have I'll just give you an example, pin mode calculator. This doesn't really mean anything, but whatever. So this variable, pin mode calculator, the way I written it, it is in Camelcase. This doesn't count. And the reason it's called Camelcase, as I explained, uh, you can imagine that this big M is the hump of the camel. So it's kind of like going down, it's like down, and then it's going up, and then it's going down again. Kind of like a hump, if you imagine it. So this is the Camelcase variable. So space equals space, and let me assign it a value. This is a Camelcase variable. And if I run this over here in the output, again, no errors. And now we can move on to the final rule, and this is how you use Camelcases. Now we move on to the final rule, no spaces allowed. What does that mean? Now if, let's say, I make a variable, I'll just put 4 over here to label it. Now let's say over here I make a variable called space variable 5. Okay, now what's going on over here? The thing is that the spaces are causing issues over here. Let's say that I just remove this 5 for now. The spaces are gonna cause issues. So if I write space variable, space equals space, and then this will not work, and then if I run it over here, it's gonna throw us an error. As you can see, invalid syntax. Why is it showing invalid syntax? The reason for that is because the only exception where we can use spaces is inside strings, because anything that's contained in between these 2 double quotes, or you can also use single quotes, both of them will work perfectly. This is a Camelcase variable. I'll just show you that single quotes work as well. You won't be able to see the output now because of this error. So how do we solve this error? Now the thing is that this error over here can be solved in multiple ways. You can do multiple things to do it, but preferably if you have a variable like this, since it only has 2 words, you can either use Camelcase, so you can do this, for example, space variable, or if you want to keep them all short, you can just put an underscore in between them. That works too. And if I run it over here, you can see that there are gonna be no issues over here, and that it's gonna compile properly. Okay, so as you can see over here, it's running properly. So if I run it, it doesn't give an error over here. So you can see it's the same thing, space variable, and then we have the string. Now, this is the final rule that we're gonna cover. Now, just what we're gonna do is we're gonna print all of them together. Okay, so print as a conclusion. So I'll print num1, print num underscore 2, print hovercraft calculators, uh, print pin mode 4, and print, oh, I forgot to add the 3 here, there we go, and print space variable. Now if I run all of them, then as you can see, all 5 variables print properly. So this is how you write variables in the proper syntax. A few rules that you should consider and that you shouldn't do, and if you, for example, you know, disregard any of these rules over here, Python will just throw you an error and you have to figure out what's wrong. So just keep it as a good rule of thumb. If you have a variable of, let's say, 2 names, so you have two words inside it, just use Camelcase. If you have more than 2 words, then just use underscores. And if you have, for example, something like this, num1, preferably you shouldn't use this, but this is just fine over here. You can just do this over here, and that's the preferred way of doing it. And if you have a Camelcase with a number, you can just do this over here. It works too. So that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. And we're gonna see you in the next video. Goodbye.